Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. On the dome, we're going to do a little wiring today. We're going to wire up all the air ride stuff for WRX. I relocated the battery back to the trunk. I got this pretty cool little distribution block up here in the front where the battery used to be. Got some 0 gauge wire running to the back to the trunk. Over here in the trunk, we got the battery set up here in the corner. Not done with securing the wiring. I'm gonna get everything wired up first, and then we'll do that. We got the compressor tanks and the air ride. I don't know if you can see that, but all that in there and set up. And we're gonna do some of the wiring on this side of the board. A bunch of cables and connectors laying around. Gonna get all set up, and we'll do the wiring. Let's go. Okay, so we're gonna get this all wired up. I got some distribution blocks and stuff that I mounted already. We got one here that's gonna be, this is gonna be ignition. This solenoid is gonna be tripped by an ignition wire I have run from the front of the car. Switch this 4 gauge on, and then energize this distribution block. We'll run this over, we'll run a piece of wire over to here, follow this fused block, which will feed the solenoid that's controlled by the pressure switch for the tanks that feeds the compressors, and also feed the ignition source for the controller itself, the airbag controller. We got to run the grounds. We need a ground on one side of the solenoid here, ground on one side of the solenoid here. Also made this so we can run some shorter grounds if we need them for anything else down the line. Like the ground for the air ride controller can go here. We'll just run a piece of 4 gauge from over there. We got to wire the compressors, and then we'll have plenty of extra space for future add-ons. When I finish the stereo and run the amp wiring, that stuff will all be ready to go. So let's get this wired. So I'm going to start with this 4 gauge. I'm going to run it over here, attach it to one side of the solenoid. Now we're going to make a jumper from this side of the solenoid over to this distribution block. This way, this will actually act as a switched ignition source that can carry some load. So instead of just running this thin wire from up in the front of the car, that wire will trip the solenoid, and we'll have some current capacity back here for anything we may need down the line. Okay, we'll make one to go from here to here, just a little shorty. Well, this one, this is going to be a direct feed just for the compressors. That one I have fused over at the battery. I'm going to put a fuse on this one. This is the 0 gauge that runs to the front of the car. That's also fused at the battery. Always fuse your wires when you run them through your car. Don't slack on that, because that's the stuff that burns cars to the ground. You don't want to get a short one of your wires and it melts underneath your carpet, catches fire, and the whole car burns to the ground. So the fuse is there to protect the wire, not what's connected to it. one more insulator boot. I have a black one in here. Red insulator out. Now we work on the ground. I'm going to run a piece of 4-gauge ground from this distribution block over to this one, so we can distribute it to the smaller wires in the system, not just, no need to cram a bunch of them into that one. So I have some black. Got to get the right size for that one. I just got to get the right Allen key for that distribution block. I don't think I have it in here. this one up or down? Run something like that. I'm gonna cable clamp all this stuff down and in place once I get it kind of where it needs to be. So this one we know is gonna go there. I'll connect that one. Then we can run like this one up and this one up, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so these two wires here, this twisted pink and orange, this comes from the pressure switch on the tank. So one leg of this is going to be, we're going to switch negative on this one. So we're going to run a positive wire from here to here. And one of these is going to go over to this distribution block, and the other one will go to this terminal on here, so that when the switch will be closed, when the pressure is low, energize the solenoid, power to the two compressors. Once it gets up to the right pressure, switch will open, that'll open the circuit, and the compressors will shut off. So we're just going to use the pink side for the solenoid from the switch, and the orange side. Actually, we should switch the ignition on this one. We'll do that. So this side gets just a ring terminal, and the other side gets a relay terminal. The holes in these ring terminals aren't big enough, so I'm gonna have to get some different connectors. Yeah, get some different ring terminals. Be right back. So hope these fit. And they don't. Gotta get different ones. Hold on. Just check these things before you start. Take 3. Too big, so I have some fork terminals. I'll use these. These fit on here. This is snug. run the ground up at the same time. I try to run them, if you're gonna run a bunch of wires basically to the same place, try to run them at the same time, so this way when you make it all, when you put them all together, like I'm gonna use those screw clamps, the makes it a little bit neater, a little bit easier. Don't have to go back and move stuff around, undo them and redo them, add extra stuff. Just try to pick them up all along. That should go. So also going this way is going to be that. But that one's a little short. I can't really run this one up. Maybe I can if I. I probably could just make that one fit. Really don't want to extend something that's that close. You know, if it's only an inch, try to reroute it and make it neater. This is going to go up. This ground, I'm just gonna go across. I'm not gonna go up with that. So this red will go on here. These will go up. Green is ground. Gotta fix that terminal. Go up and around. Like I said, the orange will go to one of these fuses. This yellow is ignition for the controller. That'll go to another fuse. The green is ground. Run that to the block. And this black will also go over to that block. This red from the compressor will go here. And maybe I'll even run this one with them just to keep it neat. Turn that sideways and run that one there too. So these can all be together. We need ground from this distribution panel to this solenoid, and we need one from, then we need to hook this ignition source up. We need a piece of wire. We'll probably make a piece of 4 gauge to go from this panel to here. Well, probably just a piece of 8 gauge actually, because there's not going to be too many things on there right now. And then put the fuses in the back. It should be all ready to fire up. So let me keep making these connections. Try to cut your wires to length as best you can. I mean, it just makes it easier on yourself. You don't have a big old bundle of wires back here you gotta untangle and try to find a place to put. Keep them neat from the start. Alright, so like I said, the red and the black here, I've made a little extension on that one. That's power for the actual air ride controller. This orange and pink come from the pressure switch. They'll trip the solenoid. That will turn on the both air compressors. And like I said, I got room in here if I want to add, you know, when I add an amp, when I finish the stereo and add the amp in and everything else, I have plenty of extra places I can tie stuff in. This, I think I need a bigger terminal for. Yep. I'm going to put these two compressor lines in one ring terminal, just so that it's one less connection I got to worry about. Got to come back and tighten up. Let's put that ring terminal on here. Actually, this will be a fork because the rings don't fit. And I'm going to put the ignition feed on that side, since the ground block is on that side, so this way I don't have to cross the wires over each other. So we'll put a little tape on this. Isn't it amazing how you can lose stuff right in front of yourself? It's me all the time. Ground wire. can power this up and fill the tank with air, but I can't fill up the bags. I can fill up the front two, because those, I mean the rear two, those are connected. The front two, I'm having some custom stainless steel lines made where the bags meet the where the lines go into the bags, because they're in kind of a spot where it moves around a lot, and the plastic line just eventually would, you know, wiggle and crack. So I and it's in the wheel well, so you know you get a lot of stuff kicking up there. So I'm having some stainless lines made up, braided lines, so they're not ready yet. And then I'll do the fronts, but let me just finish running the rest of these wires here, and then we can power up the tank, let it fill up with air. We can check the rear bags, I'll show you how the gauges, the pressure gauges look up in the front. With once they're powered up and have some pressure behind them. Let me just tighten up these lines, and we'll neaten this up a little bit. To run that, I'll make one more. Power line from that fuse, that distribution panel to that fuse block. I did a lot of this in the middle as close as I could, especially this, because this is where the ski hole opens, so I can get in there if I need to if you know, a fuse blows or something happens and I need to service it. I don't need to rip the back seat out to get to it. You kind of want to think of some of that stuff when if you're laying out a stereo system, airbags, anything. Just remember that if you make it so hard if you bury everything so well that you can't get to it without taking half the car apart, if you have a situation where you need to, and you're out somewhere, you're at a car show, you're out at night, and you can't get those panels off, kind of going to be in a pretty big jam. So it's something to think about when you're laying stuff out like this. Accessibility to the things that you might need to get to. Like in this case, fuse panel. That's something that, hey, you blow a fuse, it happens. Compressor goes bad, solenoid goes bad. You can always jump out a solenoid. You can jump out a fuse. And you can't really jump out a compressor. I always, when I had the Forester that was on bags, I always kept an extra piece of air hose with some straight push connectors in the car. This way, if something happened, I blew a line, you could always make a quick repair to get yourself home. Just push, cut the line, push in basically put in a patch between, with two push connectors, and this way you can get yourself home, get yourself to some place where you can get it repaired, or get off, if you're on a highway or something, at least get off the road so you're not a hazard to other drivers. So try to keep that kind of stuff, in mind when you're building a system or doing stuff like that. What can happen? Because you never know. Mechanical things break, stuff fails. Stuff blows up. Just my 2 cents. And if you look around, companies make all this stuff, like this nice fuse panel, that fuse block I have under the hood. I got them on, I got both of them on Amazon. Just, searching around looking for different, 12 volt distribution blocks, stuff like that. So this one has a cover, it's a little bit nicer. Don't really see it, but I mean it also has LEDs. Tell you when the fuse is blown, which is nice. You know, a quick visual if you're in a jam. It's dark, you can't really see the fuses. The light will light up and tell you that the fuse is blown. Let me put some screw clamps on here. Tighten these down. Make this a little bit neater. And we're gonna run this ground over here. And actually I want to make another ground to the butt chassis, but that I can do after. So these are nothing special, just some little screw clamps. It's a good thing about working with wood and MDF and stuff too. You got plenty of places you can anchor things, plenty of places to screw stuff down. It's nice and easy. It's easy to screw stuff down. That's really a key thing, because you don't need, it's not like screwing down to metal. You don't need to pre-drill a hole. I mean, you can. You don't have to. MDF is pretty forgiving when it comes to that. And I like these little screw down clamps over the screw down wire ties, only because if you need to add a wire or move something, you don't need to cut it and replace it. You can just unscrew it and screw it back in when you're done. You know, it's a little bit cleaner. You're not, screw down wire ties, once you zip them, that's pretty much it. So these at least you can reuse 1 or 2 times. And they're pretty flexible, so you can stuff a lot of stuff in. Here. Good point. Always check your connectors. Actually, I'm just going to put these two here, just temporarily. Hold it in place, and I'll come back and. Well, I don't think this fits right. Let me get the right one. Use the wrong grippers on those the last time. That's what I fell off. I'm just going to make up a quick ground for one of these bolts, just as a little bit extra. You can never have too much grounds, especially as in these older cars. A bolt that will clean up. Alright, so we're all wired up. I gotta get some fuses for that distribution panel and some fuses, put the fuses in the back, and we'll come back and I'll fire everything up. I'll show you the gauges in the front. So be right back. Alright, so I put the fuses in, the battery, and on that little distribution panel in the back. Let's turn the key on, see if the compressors come on. If we did everything right, they should. Might need the battery charger, but we'll see. Alright, so they came on. Speed is in the front. Right now they have right now there's no pressure in those bags, so they don't show anything, but let's let that fill up. We'll be right back. Okay, so tank's filled up. I put some pressure in the bags, checking for leaks. I'll leave that air in there overnight tonight and see if come back tomorrow, make sure that they hold their pressure. We'll know those two bags are good and that the lines going around are good. I'll check when I come back out. I'll come back out later tonight, just turn the key on, and the compressor shouldn't come on because it shouldn't have lost any air just sitting. So we'll see how it works out. But for now, the wiring's all done, plumbing's all done. Like I said, I just need those two lines for the front of the car, and the air ride will be complete. I can put the wheels on, take it outside, see how it looks. I'm still waiting on my fenders and my hood, but at least we can get an idea. Next, we're gonna finish putting the interior back together, put in the new seats, put the center console back, and wrap up the rest of the trunk, make some more trim panels. I got to put the amp in and stuff. So that'll be on probably the next episode. I'll see you soon. Give me a subscribe, hit that like button, hit the bell notification so you see when new videos come. Give me a follow on Instagram. At the Dome is here, and at Dome Detailing for all the detailing stuff. And thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you soon.